Congressman Peter Roskam joins us. He's on the House Ways and Means Committee, and he joins us live from Chicago. Congressman, great to see you. House Speaker Boehner insists that he will oppose any increase in tax rates. And the White House said on Friday, and I'll read this directly, the president will veto any bill that includes an extension of the current tax rates for those earning more than $250,000 a year. So, Congressman, where is the compromise?
I think the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. We've heard this language coming from the White House before. We've heard declarative statements coming from President Obama before, and yet he extended the current rates back in 2010. So I think the pathway forward is for the president to recognize, look, John Boehner has put on the table this notion of revenues, and we think you can get that through growth, and we think you can get that through reforming the tax code. But we've heard some of the declarative statements from the White House are just
bluffing here when they say, no deal on rates.
Well, we've heard this. We've heard he's going to get out of Guantanamo. He's going to cut the deficit in half. You know, all these sorts of things are declarations. But when it comes down to it, I think the president does sign an extension, and because it's the smart move. Look, the pathway to move forward is to reform the tax code, where there is such a high level of dissatisfaction. The opportunity is for the president to bring people together around the dissatisfaction and come up with a new, more competitive tax code.
All right, come January, here's what's going to happen. I want to put this up on the screen for our viewers. 158 million Americans will be affected. Average tax hike of $3,500. That means that 88% of the households are going to be seeing their taxes go up. And as you know, the CBO says that'll drive us into another recession. Economic output will drop to 0.5%, and unemployment will rise to 9.1%. Look, if your party, the Republican Party, takes a very hard line on all of this and is labeled obstructionist, don't they get the blame for what could be another recession?
Look, there's nobody really that should be arguing, let's go over the fiscal cliff. Now, there are some leading Democrats that leading up to the election have said, let's go over the fiscal cliff. But to your point, it will lead to a double-dip recession. What Republicans have done is offered a pathway that says put new revenues on the table, let us work at how to get them, but we've also got to address the spending side. So you don't get a sense of obstructionism from the point of the GOP. What you get is, look, we recognize the results of an election that elected President Obama, but it also elected a House Republican majority unambiguously. So the pathway to move forward, as the Speaker said, is, Mr. President, lead us now, but let's not get into this notion that the only way that we can do this is by raising taxes on producers, and it's not helpful, it doesn't close the budget gap, and rather than spending a lot of time and a lot of drama on it, let's go to where the action is.
Look, there's a roughly 20-point differential between what some people pay on capital gains and others on ordinary income, which, as you know, allows private equity and hedge fund operators to pay a whole lot less than a great many other Americans, and those guys are making a lot of money. So how can that be justified, Congressman?
Well, look, this whole notion of capital gains and dividends taxes is really inextricably linked to pension funds and the ability of moms and pops that are out there to have income-producing small capital investments. So this whole notion of this is just for the big guys, forget the big guys. This is about little folks and seniors that have...
I mean, see, that's what rankles a great many Americans, is that, you know, guys who are making millions in private equity and hedge funds, they're paying the lower rate.
Well, look, when it comes down to it, this whole notion of raising taxes on the rich, who is the rich? Well, there's some Democrats that say it's $1 million. There's some say it's $500,000. There's some say it's $250. And all of this sense, there's a great deal of ambiguity about it. What we're saying is what you're going to do is you're going to raise rates. If you do, you'll raise rates on job producers, on job creators, on the S corporations, the pass-through entities that I represent in suburban Chicago. Chicago. You raise those rates at a time moving into this, and you have a pullback in terms of economic activity.
Right.
So it's time for the bumper stickers to set aside.
And even if you raise the rates on the rich, you're only talking about a 7% dent in the deficit of $1.1 trillion and the debt of $16 trillion. So marginally, it doesn't make a difference. Peter Roskam, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Well, it's the video that everyone is talking